Hello, Reject Nation. I'm Greg.
I'm John.
We're going to watch today from our favorite channel, apparently.
Wow.
Watch Mojo.
Watch Mojo.
Top 10 production nightmares. You see, guys, over at our Patreon, we do full-length TV show reactions and weekly Q&As. One of the reward tiers, though, whatever video you request, we must definitely do. It's usually a reaction, and that's A-OK in my book. And today comes from a man named Cameron French. Now, for the longest time, Cameron French has been pledged to our Patreon. In fact, one of our highest pledges, but never really heard a peep out of the guy. And lately, we've actually been talking. After 8 months in the making, we have finally started to carry on a conversation. Found out a couple facts about him. For one, it was his birthday very recently. We pretty much share the same birthday. We're like a day apart or something. So happy birthday to you, buddy. We love you. Say hi to all of Florida for us. I want to give a very sincere shout out because I know you were going through a rough time and that's why you weren't really talking to us. So I just wanted to say to you, keep that penis intact. Because you're going to need it.
Don't damage that thing.
Don't damage it.
You only get one.
If you want to get through a hard time, focus on it.
Give yourself a hard time.
Oh, mental distractions. Let's do it. Hit and play.
We should rename our channel Greg and John Watch Mojo.
Yeah, watching the Mojo.
It's a long, sad story.
Oh no.
Melodramatic.
Try me.
Shooting a movie is
2014,
everyone's
by
dream.
the way,
But
so
what
there's been a
happens
lot
when
of
that
other
dream
production
goes
nightmares.
horribly wrong?
No, you stay the course.
Stay the course. We're dead. We are all dead.
Welcome to
Sing it with that,
WatchMojo.com,
so we'll sing
and
the
today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 production
That's what we'll
nightmares.
do every time.
Brazil.
Oh, great movie. Great movie, Brazil.
For this list,
People listed as
we've
their
picked
favorite,
movies that
like
had
one of the
epic
top 10
on-set
club.
problems,
Quite the scandal.
Oh,
ranging from
Titanic.
personality clashes, studio interference,
yeah.
and budget
Oh,
issues,
man.
to more serious troubles like injuries and even deaths.
Oh, just help me think of something for a new segment.
Number 10, Waterworld.
What is it? I'm a busy man.
Filming in water is notoriously difficult, so a post-apocalyptic
Aquaman,
sci-fi
all
flick
real
set
water.
entirely in water might have problems.
What do you say, Toby? The truth.
Looks like shit.
Waterworld was plagued from day one.
God,
A
I don't remember
hurricane
this
wrecked the
movie.
set. Kevin Costner almost died in a
want to.
storm. Jellyfish kept stinging
Almost
one of
died
the
in a storm.
actresses.
What?
One stunt double was lost at sea when his jet ski ran out of gas.
What?
And another almost died filming underwater.
You should have stayed on the water.
Director Kevin
What
Reynolds was
idiot
either
is-
fired or quit before production was done, leaving Costner to finish Waterworld himself. A whopping $75 million
Did he really?
over its $100 million budget.
Yeah.
Made for
And
a
it
great
bombed.
Universal attraction.
Big time.
I kind of want them to see if we can get it right now. See what George Miller's Waterworld is.
The power of Christ compels you.
Really?
Oh yeah, this one's terrible. This was like a haunted set.
Number 9, The Exorcist.
Oh,
The
yeah.
power of Christ compels you.
People died on
Rumor
this set
has
or
it
something,
this
right?
movie was cursed. Sure, the original set burned down, but director William Friedkin may have been the bigger
Forgot
nuisance.
about
He kept the set at frigid temperatures to create atmosphere and used unconventional techniques to get the performances he wanted.
Like what?
Amen.
You really twisted that girl's head.
Real demonic possession.
He slapped one actor and shot a gun to startle another.
How many buttons it be?
Whoa.
Exactly.
Ellen Burstyn suffered
Hard
permanent
versus
damage
the
to her
artist.
coccyx after her harness was pulled too hard.
Whoa.
And Jack
man.
McGowan died of the flu shortly after filming.
Shall we summon the right?
The movie?
He's in Paris, I believe.
Hiding?
Might as well. If they worked on this
Say what
movie
you will
and
about
died.
curses, this one seems true.
What an excellent day for an exorcism.
Did Marlon Brando do the voices?
You like it?
Number 8, Cleopatra.
All hail
My
Cleopatra,
favorite movie of all time.
kindred of Horus and Ra.
beloved of the moon and sun, daughter to Isis,
Man, this
and of
came out
Upper
today.
and Lower
We have
Egypt,
Justice League on here.
Queen.
At 20 times over its initial budget,
Solo.
Cleopatra was one of the
Be all
most
the
expensive
movies that come out in
films
the past,
ever.
like, 2 years.
Everything's to be paid for by coin.
Suicide Squad.
Tell the men to put away their swords and carry their money bags in hand.
The first producer bailed at $5 million over budget with nothing to show for it. Elizabeth Taylor required a life-saving tracheotomy during filming, delaying things further, and forcing a move from London to Rome, which meant all sets needed to be rebuilt.
Oh my
I'm not
god!
told where I can go and where I cannot go.
She also started a torrid and public affair with co-star Richard Burton, which caused much unwanted publicity.
Everything that I should ever want to hold or look upon or have or be.
It's considered a
Is
classic,
here now.
right?
Oh yeah. One was like a gigantic
Cleopatra was
production.
finally finished after 2.5 years, but it had no hope of earning back its exorbitant production costs.
Finances! You make my
Did
head
it?
hurt when you talk of money. Now change the subject.
Number 7,
Good thing
The
filmmakers
Island
are so
of
much
Dr.
more
Moreau.
well-behaved now.
Oh, you'll like
Dude, every Marlon Brando movie should be
After
on
being
this.
served with war papers on the set, star Val Kilmer fought with everyone, leading to the dismissal of director Richard Stanley in favor of John Frankenheimer.
Things didn't work out.
They didn't get along much better. Then, actor Rob Morrow quit because of script rewrites.
You were the only survivor.
And true to form, Marlon Brando didn't feel like learning his lines, so he got them through an earpiece.
Judge not, Mr. Douglas, that ye be not judged, for by these judgments shall ye also be judged. And let he who hath not sinned cast the first stone.
But he was also dealing with personal issues after learning that his daughter had committed suicide. Not a great experience for anyone involved.
This is the most outrageous spectacle I have ever witnessed.
Number 6, Fitzcarraldo.
What's this movie?
I want the opera house.
It's a Herzog movie, isn't it?
I want my
Oh, is
opera
it?
house. I want the opera house.
Screenwriter-director Werner Herzog had a particular vision for this film, and moving a 320-ton steamship wasn't going to stop him.
We're gonna drag that ship over the mountain. And the bears are going to help
Is
us.
that Jaws from James
How in hell are you going to do that?
No.
He forced his crew to manually haul the ship up a steep hill, leading to 3 injuries.
That slope may look insignificant, but it's gonna be our destiny.
The film's original star, Jason Robards, got sick halfway through filming, so Herzog hired Klaus Kinski, an actor with whom he had previously clashed violently during production of Agire, The Wrath of God.
Ich bin der Zorn Gottes.
That's cool that he was able to work with him again.
Hey, bud.
mich und bebt.
You want to jump in for a few days?
Their second partnership fared no better, and an extra even offered to kill Kinski. Herzog reluctantly declined.
This man is no opponent. He's as dead as a doornail.
I want to hear that
Number 5,
conversation.
Jaws.
This shark
Shark.
The shark is not working.
shaking and rising. Down you
Best
go.
performance of the movie, and he didn't even
You
get to
gotta
see
do
the
it
film.
quick. I don't bring back the tourists. It'll put all your
Scene he did
businesses
with
on
an
a
awful
paying
hangover
basis.
and
Filming
did
a
one
movie
take.
without a finished script usually doesn't bode well for the rest of the production.
You got any better suggestions?
Spielberg wanted the script to diverge from Peter Benchley's novel, which led to multiple rewrites.
I don't know, Chief. I don't know. He's very smart, very dumb.
He also had trouble casting the film, as it was turned down by Hollywood heavyweights like Robert Duvall and Jon Voight.
That's great! That's just great!
Why'd they turn
Now where
it?
the hell are we, huh?
On top of
Big
that,
shark no
the
one's gonna
crew
buy.
couldn't get the shark to work. Robert Shaw disliked Richard Dreyfuss, and the shoot went 100 days over schedule and
Wow.
$5 million over budget.
Wow.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Titanic was called
This had
the ship of dreams.
nightmare stories.
Number 4, Titanic.
And it was.
It's getting
It
into my
really
time.
was.
James Cameron has a reputation for perfectionism. In fact, he was nicknamed the scariest man in Hollywood.
After her long fall
Jeez, I didn't know that part.
from the world above.
That's right.
Why did Bill Paxton keep working with him?
So, it's no
Arnold, too.
surprise that this shoot was no day at the beach. Besides being grossly over budget, Cameron was tough on the crew as they moved around his Titanic replica in cold water temperatures, an issue he also had on The Abyss.
I know how alone you feel. alone and all that.
Don't do
cold
water movies with James
blackness.
Cameron.
Team morale got so bad, one crew member spiked a dinner with PCP, sending 50 to the
What?
hospital.
Yeah.
I never heard that story.
Injuries and illnesses aside, Titanic
Theoden.
made Cameron king of the world.
I know one more thing I could add
So,
to this story.
worth it.
Just say it after the reaction.
Number 3, Apocalypse Now.
Oh yeah,
There you
whole
go.
documentary about it. Yeah.
Kept trying to call it.
Originally
Another
scheduled
Marlon
to
Brando
shoot
movie,
in
yeah.
5 months, production wrapped after 16 grueling months that skyrocketed the film's budget.
16 months.
Making Apocalypse Now was an uphill battle in which Francis Ford Coppola dealt with unpredictable weather like hurricanes and typhoons that destroyed his set.
This is the way the fucking world ends. Look at this shit we're in, man.
But his cast was no picnic either. He replaced Harvey Keitel with Martin Sheen, who later had a heart attack on set.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
I did not know that either. Holy shit. Set off a border next to him or something?
Veteran actor Marlon Brando showed up overweight and underprepared,
Of course he did.
forcing Coppola to rewrite much of his dialogue and threatened suicide several times.
He also got an Oscar nomination for it. So, you know, panned out well.
That's
And you
just
must
the
make a
man's
film of
method.
horror.
Number 2, The Crow.
Oh, God.
I
Yeah.
always believed
Oh, yeah,
that
damn,
when
that
someone
this
dies,
deserves a high
One of
spot.
the
Yeah.
worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easily.
the land of the dead.
Unlike the other productions on our list, filming for this movie went relatively smoothly until a fatal accident led to the death of star Brandon Lee.
I met this guy. That guy, yeah.
Oh.
He had a candle
Fun
shop.
boy. He had a candle shop.
Take your shot,
Yeah.
fun boy. You got me dead bang.
Due to mishandling of the props and improper gun safety knowledge, Lee was shot in the stomach by a prop gun with basically the same force as a real bullet, was mortally wounded, and died hours later.
Victims. Aren't we all?
Sucks. It's a
The film was
badass
only a
film,
week
too.
away
Oh,
from
my
wrapping at that
childhood
point,
movie.
so
This
a
is my
CGI version
childhood
of
movie.
Lee was created to finish his scenes.
Really?
But sometimes,
Oh, yeah, wait, I knew that.
something so bad happens that a terrible sadness is carried with it, and the soul can't rest.
Before we unveil our number 1 pick, here are a few honorable
How do
mentions.
you honorable mention this?
Isn't there any way off of this place?
Just tell us the
Some
movies.
way to-
Tell us what happened.
He's also sucked to make.
Flagship comes every 6 months.
That's it?
I came into this game for the action, the excitement, go anywhere, travel light.
Oh, yeah,
get in,
De
get
Niro's
out,
in
wherever
that
there's
movie.
trouble, a man alone. Now they got the whole country sectioned off. You can't make a move without a form.
I missed that.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
How do you honorable mention? It's just like, give no information to what
These
happened.
weren't that bad.
You could list
But
any
they're pretty
movie.
bad.
And I'd be like, really?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
He says it's nothing, sir.
Nothing?
Merely a malfunction. Old data. Pay it no mind.
Wendy, let me explain something to you.
Yeah.
Whenever you come in here and interrupt me, you're breaking my concentration. You're distracting me. And it will then take me time to get back to where I was.
Number 1,
Scare me.
Are you ready?
Twilight, yeah.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Really?
What are you doing?
You know, I've never actually seen this movie.
Twilight Zone, the movie.
Oh wait, yeah, people got
In one of
killed
the
on
more
this, right?
horrific
Yeah,
asset
yeah,
projects to date,
yeah.
issues with the pyrotechnics used for special effects caused a real-life helicopter crash to occur during John Landis's Time Out segment.
Can't believe it, you know? I can't.
Yeah. Drink your beer. Relax.
What do you mean, relax?
And unfortunately, the crash was fatal for actor Vic Morrow as well as 2 illegally hired child extras.
I don't know what's the matter with this country, but it's
I
getting
didn't know
tougher
that.
and tougher to earn a living.
For 10 years afterwards, the filmmakers were involved in civil and criminal cases connected to the tragedy. But ultimately, Landis and his team were found not guilty of manslaughter.
Why don't you come over here? Cheer me up. I need it.
Just drink your beer.
Everybody wants this guy
Do
to
you
drink
agree with our list?
I didn't catch that last statement.
What happened on
Which
Terminator?
set sounded like the biggest nightmare to
Fine.
you?
This is the end.
surprised it wasn't even an honorable mention.
I know. This is like one of the most famous rant tapes of all time.
For more unbelievable top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
I forgive you, my friend.
What is the documentary about this movie called?
Damn good effects on that film, though, huh? Damn good effects. You know what's funny about looking over this list? You hear production nightmare stories, and sometimes you get an amazing film out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it greatly affects your film into be such a bad film.
I feel
and
like
Waterworld is one of those movies.
Yeah, it's weird. Certain films like Apocalypse Now, you're like, having that kind of tension on set seems like it would totally add to everything.
Yeah.
And something like
Yeah.
Waterworld that's so hypothetical and probably relies on so many special effects. I can totally see how this tanked because of all those problems, especially having to switch directors.
All I know is that Waterworld was a big flop. I didn't know any of this shit about the girl getting stung by jellyfish, person getting lost at sea.
I was like, did they go back for him? Or did he just live on the jet ski from now on?
What happened to that guy?
Slapping fish out of the water.
And then Kevin Costner having to finish the film himself. I've heard Kevin Costner can be a rough guy to work with. At least at the time when Kevin Costner was hot, I've heard Kevin Costner was a rough guy to work with.
He's calmed down since he started playing Pa Kent.
Yeah, man. I heard these stories about The Exorcist of,
Is it cursed?
With the set essentially being cursed. I didn't know about some of the injuries some of these actors suffered, or how insanely methodical the director might be with his approach to get real reactions. Sometimes on horror movies, that can be fun when you hear something behind the scenes. Like I remember Hatchet, they really worked hard on making sure you can get real reactions out of the actors. So like they never met the guy who was playing Victor Crowley. There was one shot where they like threw an axe, but they told the actor that it was a real axe. So they did stuff to like freak them out.
Yeah.
But then you get stuff like The Exorcist. We're too far.
Yeah,
far.
you're right.
Yeah.
It's fun to assert. If you're making people jump or whatever, like that's one thing.
But to like fire a real gun and really slap someone and all those things.
And there's some terrible, stories across multiple movies about directors wanting things to be real and that going wrong.
Yeah, I mean, this list video is kind of old, but I mean, Last Tango in Paris, to me, I refuse to watch that movie.
That's an
because
ugly
of
story.
all the stuff I know about that film. But with The Exorcist, one thing they didn't mention that I learned very recent is who plays the girl, Linda Blair?
Linda Hamilton?
Linda Hamilton. So awesome. Linda Blair, they had to hire a personal security team for her for 6 months following the film's release because of how much harassment she was receiving for participating in this role. Catholic churches or whatever thought she might have been, really satanic. I forget what the actual details are.
I love that compassion. We're going to attack you because of this work of fiction we don't agree with.
Yeah. Cleopatra, man. I had no idea about any of that stuff.
I'm not surprised. Like, most of what I knew about Cleopatra beforehand was just how, like, Herculean a production it was, especially for old Hollywood, where they really just built everything.
And had real extras.
Thousands of extras, yeah.
Because Ben-Hur had similar problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't mention Ben-Hur at all here because...
I'm surprised they didn't just mention every epic of this variety.
Yeah. Or even Howard Hughes' first film, The One with the Planes.
Yeah. Oh,
You've seen The Aviator. You know what went wrong with that set.
Way in the future.
Yeah, a lot of those old Hollywood films because they didn't have CGI back then.
And, I mean, they were still making the mistakes that would lead to future regulations.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty surprising because you could have kind of clumped a lot of old Hollywood films in this one category right here. But they said like there was no way they could make its money back. I feel like it's a classic, right? It's an epic classic.
Well, yeah, and
over time it must have made its money back.
Inflation and things like that. Maybe not effectively in their lifetimes, like the key players' lifetimes, perhaps. But I gotta imagine it's made its money back by now. Island of Dr. Moreau is a famously messed up production.
Oh, and dude, anything with Marlon Brando is essentially a messed up production.
I get the sense. There's a documentary I've heard a ton about this movie. Like,
specifically.
The original guy who was supposed to make it like went undercover as one of the creatures and like documented the experience.
Oh, really? It's kind of weird for this movie too because of how insane the behind the scenes was on this. And then you even think about what the movie is too.
Yeah.
You're like, ew. It kind of gets this like ew feeling about it.
Yeah. It doesn't help Waterworld so much, but for a movie like this, for me, it kind of increases that level of morbid curiosity where I'm like, I want to see what this spectacular mess wound up being.
Yeah, I watched Guys and Dolls the other day, and I just decided to look up the film, and then it led to a whole, like, that's everything Marlon Brando has done. And he is just notoriously known for causing problems on pretty much every movie set he's ever been a part of. You know, even in his younger, it's like he got worse the fatter he got.
It's the price of greatness.
But even before that, he was a pretty hard guy to work with, for sure. That whole thing with him not wanting to remember his lines or have it fed through an earpiece, or some people hold up cue cards for him. I think on Superman, they had to hold up cards for him. He'll still be the highest paid guy on set, but the least prepared dude ever, and still walk away with Oscar nominations because he's that good.
But I thought he was all about, like, craft and method. Like, wouldn't you want to get off book?
I think he's great at letting go and just doing his job. You know, I feel like he was just one of those mysteriously great actors. Like Apocalypse Now, he shows up on set and Francis Ford was like, what the hell's going on? And I have to rewrite this whole thing, and then he gets an Oscar nomination. Above Martin Sheen, he gets the Oscar nomination, you know? I've never heard of, what's this movie?
Fitzcarraldo?
You've never heard of this?
Yeah, I know of it. I gotta watch more Herzog movies, but I have heard that this was kind of a legendarily, if that's a word, troubled production too. I mean, that looks like one of those movies, especially when it's like roughing it and trailblazing and like doing a physical journey of some kind. Any of those like period movies always seem like they would be very grueling, especially when you have a director like Herzog who wants to get into the real shit.
Yeah. Whenever I watch those kind of movies, or even like looking at Platoon, which could have been on this list too, I was like, this must have been really excruciating to make up. Or I watched Predator again. I'm like, this must have been really hard. Anything in like jungles and stuff.
Yeah, you're like, it must have been humid. There were probably bugs and shit.
Yeah. But I love that story of he didn't get along with this guy. And then he hires him again, and they still don't get along.
He's like, you know, I know that you're good for a troubled production, so why don't you join me for this shit show?
I've never heard of anything going that way with director and actor before. Never.
I appreciate it's like if David O. Russell just kept working with Lily Tomlin over and over again. I find that oddly endearing.
Jaws. Yeah, I mean, you go on the Universal tour ride, they'll tell you about how the shark never worked. That's just what they always got to throw at you.
No.
It wasn't mentioned here, but I believe Roy Scheider and Steven Spielberg didn't get along either. Fact check me, John. The rumor I heard was that the reason Spielberg didn't return for Jaws 2 was because they had to choose between the star or director.
Oh, wow.
But that's...
it's him or me.
I'm not entirely sure about that. I mean, I could see why they would go with the star over Spielberg at that time to save money, especially considering how over budget this film went and over production time. Like, what,
100 days?
Yeah,
what?
It was like something insane, right? I could see why they're like, we're not bringing this guy back, you know? But it seems like Jaws might have benefited from bringing back Spielberg instead. I just feel really sorry for Robert Shaw because he gives the best performance in the whole movie.
Yeah, like that's a legendary. There's the amount
monologue
of people
he gives on the boat
who will find you and reenact that monologue. Speak for that.
I think he died before the film was released, which is really unfortunate. Titanic, man. The one thing I know that wasn't mentioned here was there'd be scenes where they're in the water and Cameron would just yell at them if they had to go to the bathroom, just be like, just pee in the water. Like, just go in the water. I was like, that's so gross. Oh my God, I would not go into that water. No way I would do it.
Don't worry, there are tons of fish peeing in the waters.
This is like set water. So you're not in the fucking ocean for reals, you know?
Oh, were they like in a tank?
When they're like in the tanks or in the ships and stuff? Yeah, man. That's fucking disgusting. I would not go in that water.
And shooting, I hope they drained it on the daily or something, because, yeah, that would be pretty disgusting.
It's funny because Kate Winslet said she would never work with him ever again, and now she's in Avatar too. I've read something where they put aside their differences for it or whatever.
It's in her contract that there are no water scenes she has to pay.
Yeah.
And that was really the issue.
It's funny because what I've heard about the directing styles with actors, James Cameron and Michael Bay sound very similar. Except one turns out
wildly better
masterpieces, and the other one turns out just like garbage. Yeah.
Hey man, it doesn't take raw talent to be a perfectionist.
The Crow. A lot of people might not know this, man, but my childhood movies were The Crow and then Scream. Crow came out when I was like 3 or something. Then
Movie release dates.
I don't know. Shut up. 94, 93, something like that. I like adored this movie so much. I think it was the first graphic novel I read because of how much I love the movie. And hearing that story broke my heart. This is true fact about me. However old I was in 3rd grade, I made a birthday wish that Brandon Lee would be resurrected from the dead.
Aww. Maybe it worked.
Because I wanted to make my own Predator movie and have him star in it. That was my actual full-on birthday wish. I
want
to myself.
I want to hear the pitch for that movie now.
Oh man, that was a terrible idea. I had Matthew Perry in it.
Hey, Topher was in Predators, all right.
Clearly, whenever I was watching at that age, I just wanted them all in my one movie.
And Matt LeBlanc could have been cool in Predators. He did Lost in Space with them.
He was in my movie too.
I was gonna say it should have been
pretty much all the male cast of Friends. It's very sexist kid.
Chicks can't fight the Predator. We don't need Rachel in there.
What's weird too is that scene occurs way before the finale in the movie too, and it's kind of crazy how much that movie still flows really well and is paced really well. It must have been one of the later scenes they shot, because I've never been able to really tell when it's not really. I'm sure if I watched it now I could tell. This scene is not towards the end of the movie. It's pretty early on, and the scene's complete. Too. The whole scene's done.
I was always astonished by that too, because as tragic as everything is, I guess it's theoretically lucky for that movie that they had most of his principal stuff, I guess, shot by the time it happened. But every time I see The Crow, it feels so tangible. You're like, if you could just go back and fix that one moment, everything could be different. And Brandon Lee could have a whole career, you know?
And I feel sorry for that guy because it wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
But of course, you know, because he was the guy who pulled the trigger. Yeah. He got blamed. When you think about that story, it makes the movies like John Wick, you know?
Yeah.
It's fucking like terrifying to me where you gotta get like shot at it with a blanket, you know?
Like
That's
every
scary.
action-packed, gun-toting movie after that, I gotta imagine people are a little like, I don't know.
I've actually never seen the Twilight Zone movie. It's on my list of films that I get crap for not seeing.
I've not seen it ever in one sitting, but I feel like I've seen all the segments.
Man, that's a horror story. The scariest stories are when they're for horror movies. I mean, most of these are not horror movies.
Yeah.
Some of them kind of have a horror element to them. Apocalypse Now has its horror elements.
Oh, yeah, it's totally
Titanic has its terrifying elements to it. Jaws
is a horror movie.
You know, a lot of these... Crow, you know?
Definitely horror-centric.
A lot of these movies have their horror elements to them, but when it's like straight up a horror type of movie like Twilight Zone, that's pretty terrifying when you hear about the production that went on. That's why demonic kind of horror movies freak me out in general. Like, see? It's kind of real, isn't it?
And that was the thing, actually, working at Blumhouse, we would run a lot of those kinds of stories, and apparently, like, The Omen, Rosemary's Baby, The Exorcist, like so many prominent demon and haunted movies had reportedly haunted or cursed sets where like lots of people died either in mysterious happenings or on set.
Right.
And this is one of the worst. I mean, like I had heard about the actor and the helicopter crash. I didn't know there were 2 unauthorized child extras. Yeah, like that's horrific. I mean, it's already horrific, but that's like even more horrific. And I remember, like, John Landis, I know it, like, affected his career for at least a while. Like, he kind of hit out, you know.
I mean, this video is from 2014 in May. There's been a lot of movies with production problems since, man.
That's all we hear about now is reshoots.
Yeah, anytime you hear reshoots, you're like, this movie must
be terrible.
Mustache! Yeah, that would definitely be on this list.
When the third of these lists comes out, because I think there's another one of these, there's like a follow-up, but when the third one comes out, that's definitely going to be on
Oh, yeah,
there.
man. There's so many here.
Oh, buddy. That's fascinating, too, because, yeah, like, the thin line between when you can use that complication, that frustration for the benefit of the movie, and when it just derails everything.
Well, I feel like, especially in the times we're living in now, we get way more stories of production nightmares. Not like fun stories. Some of these are like, whoa, that's kind of fun to put on this list. Well, not all of them, but some of them are. With the movements we've had, we get a lot more stories.
Well, because things are also usually safer now, too, so it's less like weird occurrences or happenstance and more just people behaving poorly in one direction or another, and everyone's got a phone now. All the mics are on.
Yeah, man. Whew. All right, I mean, that was a fun video. Thanks, Cameron.
Yeah.
That was fun. I feel like I learned a lot.
That's fun. I'm gonna take this into the next Schmodown.
Yeah, for sure. Like I remember that Werner Herzog movie. Guys,
Geraldo.
Thank you so much for watching. Please go check out our Patreon, full-length TV show reactions and Q&As and other goodies. You guys can subscribe to the Reject Nation. Subscribe to WatchingMojo.com too.
Watch them.
Click notification bells all around. Just do it. Complete. Cleet.